Here's a season 16 episode of SpongeBob that just released with a ton of Easter eggs. The episode Karate Pals kicks off with a gathering of the Gal Pals, a team up of SpongeBob's most prominent female characters, that being Sandy, Karen, Mrs. Puff, and Pearl, who actually first officially formed their friend group all the way back in the episode Girls' Night Out. An underrated episode, just say, at least for modern SpongeBob, you know. Now, they haven't appeared too often, only a few times since season 10, but whenever they do, it's honestly really good writing and some good comedy. But yeah, in this episode, the four Gal Pals are simply hanging out in front of Mrs. Puff's house. And right off the bat, we have an awesome Easter egg as Karen proudly serves up one of her specialties.
My famous holographic meatloaf! What do you think?
That was delicious and, not too filling.
For those of you who don't know, all of you casuals, this right here is holographic meatloaf. And not only does it look delicious, but it's also a really cool deep cut callback for longtime fans like myself, as it's a direct reference to The Algae's Always Greener, an episode that debuted back in like 2002. So shout out to the writers for remembering this. Back in that episode, Plankton comes home to a dinner of literally holographic meatloaf. And yeah, our boy is pretty disappointed about this.
Oh, goody. Holographic meatloaf again. When am I gonna get some real food?
It's a classic scene, and honestly, it went untouched for like 23 years. That is, until Karate Pals finally brought it back. Poor Plankton, that means he's probably eating this shit all the time. Yeah, if we look at the meatloaf side by side, we can see like there's some slight differences, but yeah, this is 100% a reference. You know, whenever I talk about an Easter egg or a reference or trivia, I always am compelled to like prove it, but I don't even think I need to prove this one to you guys. It's a reference. After their holographic meal, Sandy enthusiastically introduces her friends to one of her favorite hobbies. And you guys should know exactly what I'm talking about. That's karate, as SpongeBob would put it. At first, the others are hesitant, but soon Karen, Pearl, and Mrs. Puff embrace karate. Perhaps a little too much, honestly, as each Gal Pal starts applying karate to their daily life back at home in very over-the-top ways. For example, Karen just starts karate chopping holes in the Chum Bucket's walls, which probably costed my boy Plankton a lot of money. No wonder this dude is stressed out all the time. Pearl, on the other hand, isn't so bad. She's actually kind of smart about it. She uses all of her newly learned karate moves to somehow do her household chores. But yeah, this scene with Pearl back at the Crab's residence has another Easter egg, and it's a very nostalgic one. As if we rewind a little bit, just as Pearl arrives home to her dad's house, there's a very easy to miss detail by the front door. This little cute little wormy dude right here is Mr. Doodles, Mr. Krabs' pet green worm. We can see him snoozing on this blue chair right here in the living room. You may remember Mr. Doodles from his appearance back in the episode Sandy's Rocket. Back in that episode, we see Mr. Krabs briefly walking Mr. Doodles at night before they mistakenly get abducted by SpongeBob and Patrick, since the duo thinks that Mr. Krabs and his pet worm are aliens. Honestly, after this, over the years, the show had somewhat forgotten about this worm's original owner. At one point, if we go and look at the episode Bubble Buddy Returns, one of the artists mistakenly drew Mr. Doodles alongside a random incidental character. To be fair though, he's also seen to be like abandoned and ownerless later on in the episode Gary and Spot. So, you know, I'm not a theorist, all right? But here's a little theory. Maybe Mr. Krabs got rid of Mr. Doodles. I mean, he is a very cold-hearted man, Mr. Krabs. And who knows, maybe Mr. Doodles was adopted by this incidental that we seen in Bubble Buddy Returns, and then maybe Mr. Doodles got abandoned again, which is why we see him at the animal shelter or Pound in Gary and Spot. I don't know the exact lore, all right? I don't know the sponge lore here, but what is for sure is that Mr. Doodles makes his return in Karate Pals, and it finally sets things straight by quietly placing Mr. Doodles back in the Mr. Krabs household. He doesn't deserve Mr. Doodles, all right? He abandoned that pet potentially, giving us a cool Easter egg that references Sandy's Rocket, but also cleans up some canon. But you know, we're at Mr. Krabs' house right now, so let's stay here for a moment, as inside the Krabs residence, there's more Easter eggs. We have to head over to Pearl's bedroom, as once she starts using her new karate abilities to somehow magically clean her clothes, we get a glimpse of Pearl's closet, which is absolutely filled with outfits that reference older episodes. There's 6 distinct outfits hanging here, and we're gonna go through each one. Starting from the leftmost, there's a purple dress and a yellow apron. And this isn't a random fit, it's actually Pearl's exact work uniform from this scene in Mall Girl Pearl. Roll the clip. It's from when she took a job at the Bikini Bottom Mall, so quite the deep cut reference. Next to that outfit hangs a plain brown long sleeve shirt, and this one is a very specific reference, as this is the outfit Pearl wore when her and Plankton break into the Krusty Krab in the episode Plankton's Intern.
Ooh, what's your plan to open the safe?
I'll just use the combination.
Diabolical!
It's very cute that her and Plankton matched, you know? And she kept the shirt, like she still owns that thing. The next outfit holds a set of pink pajamas. They look very comfy, and these things are a slightly redesigned version of the ones that Pearl wore back in the classic Dream episode Sleepy Time. So a really cool reference to season 1. To the right of the pajamas is a school uniform style outfit, and it took me a second to remember this one, but it's actually Pearl's Science Scout outfit from Goons on the Moon. Fifth in line is a fancy pink gown, which is actually the very same dress that we seen back during Pearl's 16th birthday in the episode Whale of a Birthday. And last but not least, at the far right is a pink and white ballet tutu. And this is a more recent callback. It's a callback to the episode Tango Tangle, where at one point in that episode, we see Pearl and SpongeBob go to a dance class, and Pearl wears that same tutu. I love that the art team put effort and time into this, as they could have just put a bunch of random outfits here, but they made sure to include some cool ones referencing some older episodes. You guys know I love shit like this, man. I'm a nerd for this stuff. After these home-based shenanigans, Karate Pals shows how karate fever is affecting the rest of the group around town. Mrs. Puff, as you guys know, is typically a very cautious boating teacher. She's very to the book and she wants things to be safe, but the karate or the karate has been getting to her head, and she's a lot more punchy and reckless, especially during her exam with SpongeBob, where she's literally encouraging the dude to drive faster. Mrs. Puff very evilly tells SpongeBob to floor it.
I think you're finally ready, SpongeBob. Floor it.
Floor it?
This is potentially a little reference to the episode Boating School. If we rewind back to that episode, there's this scene where Mrs. Puff tells SpongeBob to do the opposite, to not floor it.
What do you do next?
Floor it?
Yes. No, no, don't floor it.
Floor it?
No, 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 don't floor it.
Okay, floor it!
No.
Again, I don't know if this is 100% a reference, but I do think that Mrs. Puff telling SpongeBob to floor it in this episode is a reference to that moment all the way back in Boating School, where she was pretty much telling him not to do it. I don't know for sure though. Maybe I'm reaching with this one. Let me know what you think in the comments. One more thing for this episode, but we gotta go to an earlier point in Karate Pals, specifically during Sandy's karate training session. At one point, Karen performs this like rapid fire hand strike that is actually a video game reference. If we do a side by side, we can see that she throws her arms around in a very similar way to the character E Honda's 100 hand slap move from the Street Fighter franchise. I mean, this may just be a coincidence, like it isn't a perfect matchup, but again, if we look at them side by side, you can kind of see the resemblance. The animation director for this episode was Michelle Bryan, and you know, Michelle Bryan, I didn't know you were chill like that. I didn't know you played games like that though. I still need to deep dive more into this episode, so I'll probably cover it again in the future with new stuff. But for now, let's head into another episode with more Easter eggs. Let's do it. In the episode Sammy Suckerfish, the Krusty Krab is left filthy, absolutely disgusting, after hosting a convention for sewer dwellers, according to Mr. Krabs. Well, SpongeBob is tasked with cleaning up the disgusting mess, but he's soon aided by a bizarre new character. This dude right here, Sammy Suckerfish, a whimsical janitor who appears like quite literally out of nowhere.
Who are you?
Why, I'm Sammy Suckerfish, the Jolly Janitor, I am. And the word on the wind is, you need help cleaning.
Now, we're gonna get into the Easter eggs and all of the lore and behind the scenes details of this episode, as there's a lot of interesting stuff, but for it to all make sense, let's go over the plot a little teeny tiny bit. With the Krusty Krab as a mess, Sammy introduces SpongeBob to his very strange way of cleaning things up, and it's pretty freaking weird. Sammy's approach to things is also very like adventurous. It's hard to explain, but here's another clip to show you what I mean. This guy's really into cleaning.
Some stains are so tough they need a little bit of magic soap.
Now, if this premise feels oddly familiar, that's because Sammy Suckerfish is essentially a loving parody of the 1964 Disney film Mary Poppins. The episode is packed with references to that iconic movie. The overall plot, with a magical caretaker figure who shows up to clean and bring order, is directly based off of Mary Poppins. Sammy himself, though a fish, shares a lot of DNA with Mary Poppins. He arrives in a mystical way, and he also has a habit of bursting into song as he works. But visually, Sammy seems to be modeled after Bert the Chimney Sweep, another character from Mary Poppins. If we look at them side by side, you can see exactly what I'm saying here. It turns out that this design was the plan from the very start, as one of the show's artists, Dave C., shared early concept sketches of Sammy on social media. And from the start, we can see that Sammy was always going to be designed based off of Bert the Chimney Sweep. The Mary Poppins parallels become even more obvious once Sammy starts cleaning. This dude right here is Moppy, which is Sammy's trusty sidekick. Not gonna lie, having your own Moppy would be pretty cool. It's like a sentient freaking mop that just cleans for you. Who needs a Roomba when you can have a Moppy? Well, Moppy is very, very clearly based on Mary Poppins' famous talking umbrella, which also had a mind of its own. And then there's also the music. Sammy leads SpongeBob in a interesting and merry cleanup song that is a clear reference to A Spoonful of Sugar, the song Mary Poppins sings to help the bank's children tidy up their nursery. I'm only gonna play short clips because I'm not trying to get destroyed by copyright, but here's a short clip of the song in this actual episode, Sammy Suckerfish.
Lick all the dirt up, lickety split, lick all the dirt up every bit.
And now let me play a short clip of what that was referencing.
For a spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down.
There's also more old school movie references in this episode, as in one scene we can see Squidward riding his bicycle through the air inside of a twister. This visual gag is actually a reference to Wizard of Oz. More specifically, this scene from the movie where the Wicked Witch transforms as she pedals her bike frantically through the cyclone. Now, that's it for references, but there's some interesting behind the scenes details that I want to dive into for this episode. And to do this, we have to rewind back to the start of the episode when the Krusty Krab first gets all grimy and gross. There was a lot of love and attention to detail put into these scenes by the art team. For example, the background paintings for the filthy version of the Krusty Krab were actually hand painted by artist Amy Lewis. Lewis shared behind the scenes images of these backgrounds, with her using a specific type of paint to give the dirt and moss an organic textured appearance. I mean, look at this. We also got some progress images of this as well, where we could see the painting going through different stages of development. I'm showing them all on screen right now in order, and it's some really cool stuff. My content's always going to be like Easter egg focused, but I do want to do more segments where I talk about behind the scenes production stuff like this as well. Let me know in the comments if this was actually interesting to you guys. Plus, it's also good to give Amy Lewis her credit, man. Like, she worked hard. But yeah, let's head over to another episode with more Easter eggs. And real quick, I just want to say, if you're new, please consider subscribing, guys. I'd really appreciate it. I use no AI to make my content, and I'm actually like one of the only non-AI sleep SpongeBob channels on YouTube. All of those other sleep channels that make SpongeBob content are using AI, whereas I put a lot of love and passion into my content. I'm sorry to my regular viewers. I know you guys have to hear this every time. If you're watching this in a compilation too, I've probably said this like a million times in the video already. But anyways, I love you. Subscribe if you're new, and let's head into more Easter eggs in another episode. In the very first episode of Camp Coral, The Jellyfish Kid, an episode I've covered in the past just saying, but this is all new stuff, 10-year-old SpongeBob is determined to catch his very first jellyfish. In the introduction of the episode, we meet youthful versions of Patrick, Sandy, Squidward, and others, while also being introduced to the new camp setting. It makes sense since it's like the first episode. And the creators stuffed in a ton of Easter eggs and references in this very first episode. Right off the bat, we can see that Mrs. Puff works at Camp Coral, teaching a junior boating class. This isn't an Easter egg, but this detail makes perfect sense given Mrs. Puff's future career as Bikini Bottom's boating school teacher. So this was a cool little nod to her adult role. After this, we get a look inside of SpongeBob's cabin, a scene crammed with a ton of inside jokes and visual references that I've actually covered in previous videos, so don't worry, I'm not going to repeat myself. But there is one gag here that I completely missed. If we look at Patrick, he's asleep, but he he's sleeping in his bed in a very interesting way, somehow snoozing upside down like he's freaking Spider-Man. This is actually a callback to a running SpongeBob gag. In the original series, Patrick has been seen sleeping just like this in a couple of different episodes. So yeah, him sleeping like this in the first episode of Camp Coral is most certainly a reference. Moving on though, the main plot of The Jellyfish Kid centers on SpongeBob, Patrick, Sandy, and a couple of other campers taking jellyfishing lessons under a very reluctant Squidward, who, by the way, for those of you who don't know, in Camp Coral, Squidward's like a junior camp counselor.
Forgot what I was doing. Your net. No thanks, I got one.
Well, this setup leads to a clever piece of character backstory. As you all know, in the classic main SpongeBob series, adult Squidward absolutely hates jellyfishing. For example, let's take a look at the episode literally titled Jellyfishing from season 1, where SpongeBob and Patrick drag him along, resulting in Squidward getting stung, wrapped in bandages, and hating every second. Even earlier in that episode when he's offered to go jellyfishing, listen to what he says. Listen to this clip right here.
I can't think of anything I'd love to do more on my day off than go jellyfishing with my two best friends, SpongeBob and,
Patrick.
but I can't. Bye-bye.
Next time?
Oh, sure, right. Whatever.
Well, Camp Coral gives us a possible origin for Squidward's hatred. It's a prequel, right? And if you think about it, if Squidward had to spend all summer when he was younger watching SpongeBob as a camp counselor with him obsessing over jellyfishing, it kind of makes sense why Squidward absolutely hates it in the modern day show. This dude has like PTSD from Camp Coral probably. But yeah, that was a very long-winded explanation for this really cool bit of continuity in this episode. Another really cool reference can be found during the same scene. Right as Squidward is about to blow his whistle to start the activity, he pauses to do a little lip gesture. If this action rings a bell, that's because it's mirroring a famous SpongeBob moment from that same episode we mentioned before, jellyfishing. In that episode, SpongeBob tries to play Squidward's clarinet, and we get this scene right here. That's very similar. In The Jellyfish Kid, the 3D animators gave Squidward that same exaggerated lip-smacking moment. And considering that this episode, The Jellyfish Kid, is literally about jellyfishing, I definitely think that this is a direct reference to the episode Jellyfishing. I mean, come on. Our next Easter egg can be found in the episode Bottle Burglars, and it references the iconic Season 2 episode Frankendoodle. In this episode, SpongeBob and Squidward accidentally let Plankton slip away with the coveted Krabby Patty secret formula. So as you can imagine, the episode is primarily focused on the not-so-dynamic duo trying to retrieve it. Well, spoiler alert, they do, and the episode has a happy ending. But if we watch closely, when Squidward turns on the Krusty Krab security footage, a drawing of Doodle Bob can be seen on the bottom of the table, referencing both Frankendoodle and Doodle Dimension. In the Season 2 episode, Survival of the Idiots, SpongeBob and Patrick overhear a dream Sandy has about fighting two very popular Western criminals, Dirty Dan and Pinhead Larry, and eventually take on both personas as they play cowboys and bandits.
All right, Pinhead, your time is up.
Who you calling Pinhead?
Now this eventually results in both Pinhead Larry and Dirty Dan getting their butts absolutely handed to them, like they get their butts kicked and presumably killed, thus giving us these two gravestones with the names Pinhead Larry and Dirty Dan on them. Well, these gravestones are referenced in the episode Shopping List, as both can be seen during this scene, thus making for a heartwarming little Easter egg for all of the longtime fans like myself. Let's head over to our next episode, Buff for Puff. Of course, here's the Easter egg and what the Easter egg is referencing.
Nice show, bro!
Whoa, Mr. Krabs, looking good. Was that Larry?
Alright, if you aren't a massive SpongeBob nerd like I am and tapped into the SpongeBob universe, you might not get this one. But as some of you probably know, there's a SpongeBob spin-off show called Camp Coral. Both Mo and Craig Mamelton appear weightlifting together, which is also a reference to them being Frigate Captain members back in Camp Coral as well. So yeah, here's Easter egg number 2 from Buff for Puff.
This was a mistake! Abandon Jim!
You can do this, Mr. Krabs. Do it for Mrs. Puff.
SpongeBob's gym outfit outfit in this shot right here is the exact same one he wears when exercising with Gary in Gary's Got Legs. Our next Easter egg can be found in the season 9 episode Bulletin Board, and I'm actually pretty proud of it. This is a cool one. In this episode, the Krusty Krab puts up a community bulletin board and lets customers use the board for feedback. Now, this episode is actually pretty good, but it's not the plot that matters. What actually matters is this Easter egg. In the classic episode, it's literally just titled there is a gag where Patrick, or well, Patar, his distant ancestor, puts salt on his hand and tries to eat it. It happens a couple times throughout the episode. Well, it seems this is referenced in Bulletin Board, as this exact same gag happens during this scene. You can see Patrick put his hand into his mouth, salt it, and put it back in. What a cool Easter egg. Let's talk about the Patrick Star Show, specifically the episode Bummer Jobs. In this one, the Patrick Star Show delivers a flurry of SpongeBob callbacks. Just to give you guys some context of what this episode is about though, it's pretty much about Patrick and SpongeBob looking to get a job. Patrick wants to find his purpose in life, and this turns into him looking for a job. We see their struggle of going through different types of day jobs. For example, they work as grocery baggers at a grocery store and unfortunately get fired. From here, they look for another job. As they pick themselves up, still enthusiastic, they see an old lady struggling to paint her fence. Now, if we rewind back to the episode Idiot Box, there's this scene, and it's a very iconic one where SpongeBob uses his hands to draw a rainbow and says the word
imagination.
Well, this is referenced like 20 plus years later in Bummer Jobs, as when SpongeBob and Patrick go to help that old lady, he does a very similar gesture. I love this so much. You guys know I'm like a massive nerd when it comes to the Steven Hillenburg era. I always ramble on about it in these videos, so any reference to, a season 1, 2, or 3 episode, especially Idiot Box, is gonna warm my heart. And we've got more. Who remembers the episode Sailor Mouth? We've talked about this one many times before, but in this episode, Patrick and SpongeBob learn to swear, and they're taught not to. But the main thing here, as you guys know already, is whenever SpongeBob characters swear in SpongeBob, they make this sound effect.
There are 13 bad words you should never use.
Don't you mean there are only 7?
Not if you're a sailor.
Wow, 13.
That's a lot of bad words.
Well, at one point in Bummer Jobs, listen to what the porpoise says, as it sounds very similar to bad word number 11.
Let me go, you little...
Hey, watch your language.
Did you hear that? It happens closer to the ending of the episode, and that is 100% a reference to Sailor Mouth. So that's 2 classic episodes referenced in one The Patrick Star Show episode. People like to talk smack about The Patrick Star Show, but this is really good. Like, this is a good sign that the writers actually are passionate and know what they're talking about. But yeah, I've got one more Easter egg from this episode, and it happens in this next scene. In a hilarious segment, Squidina rolls out a TV and says it's time for some noir sense.
While they take a break, let's all watch another hard-boiled episode of Noir Sense.
Suddenly, we're now in a black and white detective parody where Fred the Fish is being interrogated. And if you listen to what he says, it's a very clear reference to, his entire character. This is the whole point of Fred the Fish at this point in the show, is to scream the following. This is a brilliant send-up of the running gag, my leg, usually heard whenever Fred gets hurt in classic episodes. For example, here's like a couple of times in older episodes where we hear him say it. Here's a little compilation, a little montage.
My leg! My leg!
Thank you!
My leg! My leg!
It is crazy how many things they hide in these SpongeBob episodes, how many references there are to older episodes, and I love it. The episode Bunny Hunt is a later season gem loaded with background Easter eggs and continuity nods, all wrapped in a silly plot about a wild sea bunny infestation. The episode finds Squidward's garden overrun by a cute but destructive sea bunny named Bunny Wunny, leading to ever-escalating chaos. Like, this bunny is a troublemaker. But let's get into the Easter eggs, as longtime viewers will recognize Squidward's backyard setting from an earlier episode. At the climax, dozens of bunnies swarm and even pop out of a wooden shed behind Squidward's house. And it might just seem like some random shed, but that shed is a blink and you'll miss it reference to another episode, The Curse of Bikini Bottom from season 7. In that episode, a shed randomly appeared in Squidward's yard for a gag.
Let's go look for something to do in Old Man Squidward's shed.
but it isn't actually a part of Squidward's like actual house layout. If we look at other episodes and we see his backyard, the shed isn't there. So its reappearance here years later is a delightful continuity nod for fans who remember the one-off structure. The interiors of SpongeBob's pineapple in this episode are also a treasure trove of callbacks. When SpongeBob temporarily adopts the Sea Bunny, we see his living room shelves decorated with familiar mementos. Notably, this ball right here, which is Gary's toy ball, which is actually from an episode, Gary's New Toy.
Okay, that's just creepy. Gary, I think you need to spend some time away from this ball. This isn't helping your case.
It's right here on the shelf, making for a cool reference. Here's a side-by-side. And nearby is SpongeBob's ukulele from the classic Fun Song and the episode of the same name. SpongeBob even has a framed photo of a baby Gary the Snail. However, this little touch actually created a little bit of a continuity puzzle. I mean, how would SpongeBob have a baby picture of Gary if, according to the new canon, he met Gary as a kid at Camp Coral? We've talked about this before, but let me clarify. As Nickelodeon has ultimately confirmed that Camp Coral exists in an alternate timeline from the main series. In other words, the main SpongeBob from the core SpongeBob universe likely raised Gary from a young age, hence the baby photo here, whereas Camp Coral is a separate take on their origin. It's interesting stuff, but just wanted to clarify it. But let's keep it moving because there's a lot of references in this episode. Even if we pop over to Squidward's house, as hanging on his wall is a painting that spoofs another famous painting called The Scream, created by Edvard Munch. I hope I said it correctly. I'm sorry, Edvard Munch, if I said your name wrong. Just this time, as you guys can see, it has a more Squidward touch to it. Here's a side-by-side. Even more surprising, though, is the cameo of an extremely obscure character. This human supervillain with a clam on his head appeared once in the very first Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy episode, back in 1999.
Oh no! A raging whirlpool!
But after an 18-year absence, he actually shows up again in this episode, on a comic book cover that SpongeBob shields from Bunny Wunny's destruction. It's a blink and you'll miss it detail, but a really cool one that's also pretty rewarding to fans that know their SpongeBob lore. I mean, clearly some of the SpongeBob staff are just as obsessed with SpongeBob lore as I am, as Clamhead Candy Cat's inclusion, however brief, acknowledges the depth of the Mermaid Man universe, and is a treat for any of the nerds out there that remember all of the different villains from SpongeBob. But Bunny Hunt doesn't just reference SpongeBob's past. It throws in a bit of real-world culture too. Squidward, ever the sophisticated squid, drops a couple of French phrases during this episode. And if you were ever wondering what he said, I got you covered. At one point, he exclaims, "Sacre bleu," when speaking to a wooden dummy, a mild, old-fashioned French curse equivalent to the word damn it. Later, during a melodramatic funeral for his garden, Squidward sighs, "C'est la vie," meaning that's life in French. Some more fun facts for you guys right there. And I guess it's canon that Squidward can speak French, which is kind of fitting to his character. It's also kind of a smart way to sneak in a swear. Damn it is kind of like an edgy word, and you don't see a lot of characters from kid shows saying it, so it being in French was a way for Nickelodeon to sneak it in. At least that's my theory. A game theory. And let's head over to another episode. This next one's pretty neat. Now, I don't use the word neat often, but this one's more of like a fun fact. It's still an Easter egg, but you guys will really like this one. In the episode Buried in Time, we get a real-life city imagined by Patrick, all right? Take a look at the clip.
What do you think Bikini Bottom will be like in the future?
Wow! Special drinking fountains for short people!
I dream of a town with the perfect blend of commerce and irrigation. Not to mention the breathtaking views.
Now, fun fact, it turns out this is a real place. It appears to be Burbank, California, the home and land of Nickelodeon Animation Studios. So, like I said, fun little fact. Let's keep it moving and get back to the real Easter eggs. Let's switch up the flow on this next one and talk about Camp Coral, the SpongeBob spinoff that is completely overhated, guys. Like, the show is not that bad. It's for kids. It's meant to be like a SpongeBob spinoff for kids, but I'll see grown adult men like me, like, complaining about the show. And it's okay. we can agree to disagree. If you don't like Camp Coral, it's fine. Don't hate me just because I don't hate it. But anyways, we're gonna talk about Camp Coral, more specifically the episode Cabin of Curiosities. As Easter eggs aren't just limited to regular SpongeBob, they're also in the spin-offs as well. In Cabin of Curiosities, young SpongeBob and Patrick are trying to earn a friendship badge in venture. You hungry, buddy? Good boy. My dog decided to take a bite of his food while I was doing voiceover, and I love him for it. He's looking at me right now. Here's a photo of him. See, that's how you know I'm really not an AI channel, as who would stop in the middle of a video to shout out their dog? And that's not an AI dog. Okay? So yeah, please subscribe. Anyways, though, this has been the longest intro ever, but basically in this episode, SpongeBob and Patrick end up like veering off into the eerie woods at night by accident and end up inside this mysterious cabin where they meet a crew of creepy, cute characters. There's a vampire kid and other monster-themed campers who only come out after dark.
That is my web. I spun it this morning.
Oh, nice work! Do you do free alterations?
This lead little vampire introduces himself as Kid Feratsu, a name that immediately rang a bell for me because I love SpongeBob. For those who don't know, this is a playful spin on Nosferatu, the classic horror vampire who made an unforgettable cameo in the SpongeBob episode Graveyard Shift.
Nosferatu!
In that infamous season 2 scene, a live-action Nosferatu flickered the lights of the Krusty Krab, surprising everyone and becoming a long-time gag within the show. In the SpongeBob SquarePants prequel, Camp Coral, Nosferatu's legacy lives on as we meet a kid version of Nosferatu, or maybe a distant relative. Nonetheless, Nosferatu appearing in Camp Coral is a cool Easter egg here. He's pretty much like a random SpongeBob character, so the fact that the writers and art team remembered to include him here is awesome. And there's actually another thing I want to discuss when it comes to this episode. As it continues, the Monster Cabin kids spend the night scaring and then befriending SpongeBob and Patrick, showing them a frightful fun time until dawn approaches. In a scene that mirrors vampire lore, Kid Feratsu and his creepy cabin mates disintegrate when the first rays of sunlight hit them. They literally crumble into dust as the sun rises, much to SpongeBob and Patrick's shock. Here's the issue. This dramatic exit seems to imply the monster kids are creatures of the night only. However, dedicated viewers of Camp Coral noticed a funny continuity hiccup. These very same characters later appear in broad daylight in like other Camp Coral episodes. The production team definitely made a little bit of a mistake here. But fortunately, that mistake is interesting, thus turning it into a fun fact. And I've got more fun facts, trivia, and Easter eggs to come, so let's keep it rolling. Our next episode is Cabin of Curiosities. On a dark and stormy night at Camp Coral, SpongeBob and Patrick stumble upon a creepy cabin filled with even creepier kid campers. In one of them is a familiar fiend from SpongeBob's past, or I guess his future, albeit in a pint-sized form. Cabin of Curiosities plays out like a kid-friendly horror homage, as our heroes meet a gang of monster kids in the woods.
You are either very brave
Or very foolish to venture into this dark domain.
Foolish! Definitely foolish!
Jake?
Yes, we are. My name is Predatori. That is my web. I spun it this morning.
The star of these odd campers is Kid Feratsu, who, as his punny name definitely implies, is the child version of the iconic SpongeBob character and just classic horror character in general, Nosferatu. It's crazy that Nosferatu is like literally like a canon SpongeBob character. Like, he's appeared on screen many times in the show. I mean, I guess this one technically isn't actually an Easter egg if Nosferatu is a regular character now. Camp Coral is a prequel show and shows a lot of the characters' younger forms, so I guess it makes sense that we would see Nosferatu's kid form, but I do think that this overall is a cool little homage at the very least. Our next episode is Call the Cops from season 11. This episode flips the script by putting SpongeBob and Mr. Krabs on the other side of the law. Plankton actually gets himself arrested after yet another failed formula theft, and the secret formula is locked up at the Bikini Bottom police station as evidence. To retrieve it, Mr. Krabs convinces SpongeBob to go undercover as police officers and infiltrate the station, a recipe for hilarious antics.
Have you got a license to sell these cookies?
Officer SquarePants, I don't think we ought to.
Let me handle this, Officer Mr. Krabs.
I don't have a license.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
As soon as they step into the station lobby, the background art delivers clever gags. For one, there's a framed photo of a donut on the wall, poking fun at the classic trope that cops love donuts, but right beside that is a wanted poster bearing a very familiar face, that of the Tattletale Strangler. I love references like this. Fans will remember this villain from SpongeBob Meets the Strangler, a legendary, iconic episode, and apparently the Bikini Bottom PD is still on the lookout for him. The fact that his wanted poster appears here is a continuity nod, as if the events of that episode have been filed in police records. And the station's back room holds another Easter egg for the observant. Pinned up on the wall is a wanted poster for another iconic SpongeBob villain. Roll the clip and I'll let you guys catch it.
You can interrogate the suspect.
I don't know how to interrogate.
Then just ask questions.
Come on, you guys gotta know this one. That's Dennis, the fearsome hitman from the original 2004 SpongeBob SquarePants movie.
Name's Dennis. I've been hired to exterminate you.
Dennis's rugged mug is instantly recognizable, connecting the series to the first movie storyline even more. These background posters subtly expand the world building, implying that all of these notorious baddies share the same criminal universe. Really cool stuff. This next episode finally brought Gary the Snail to Camp Coral, and with him comes a barrel of references spanning the SpongeBob universe. In our next episode, Camper Gary, SpongeBob discovers his pet snail has stowed away at camp. Rather than send Gary home, SpongeBob disguises him as a new camper to keep him hidden from the staff, particularly from Mrs. Puff, who turns out to hate snails, which is kind of weird because she literally has a snail in the episode The Sponge Who Can Fly. Like, SpongeBob helps save her snail, so this is a little bit of a continuity error, but anyways, the premise of this episode alone parallels a classic SpongeBob plot. It's essentially the summer camp equivalent of My Pretty Seahorse, where SpongeBob hid his pet seahorse mystery at the Krusty Krab.
SpongeBob, thanks for finally getting rid of that horse.
You're welcome, Mr. Krabs. It worked, girl. I'll just keep you back here until Patrick finishes that stable I asked him to build.
Years later, in Camper Gary, we see SpongeBob do something very similar to that scene from My Pretty Seahorse. As a matter of fact, the entire plot of this episode is very similar, which a lot of people think is a reference. Here's another Easter egg though. Of course, Gary eventually runs loose, and Mrs. Puff goes into full monster hunter mode, chasing the beast snail haunting the camp. She doesn't even realize that it's Gary and actually thinks that there's a real threat here. But in a very funny twist, during the chaos, Mrs. Puff offhandedly mentions the following line, and if you listen closely, this is a reference.
Mom always said I'd go out like this. Oh well, better than being dragged back to prison.
As you heard right there, Mrs. Puff refers to being dragged back to prison. And this is a reference to the fact that Mrs. Puff has gone to prison many times in original SpongeBob. For example, in No Free Ride, she goes to jail. So it's very in character that even years before original SpongeBob in the prequel show, she had already been to jail. It seems to be a running theme in her life. There are some more Easter eggs in this episode, and I'm gonna rapid fire them. They're really cool. For one, if you look closely in SpongeBob's bunk, there's this poster right here of Mermaid Man on the wall. We also see a jar of mayonnaise amongst SpongeBob and Patrick's belongings, perhaps a wink at the famous "is mayonnaise an instrument" joke, since what camper packs mayo for a trip? Only Patrick would do that, I mean, come on. And if you look closely right here, we can find canned bread again. We've talked about this in a previous Easter egg video, and if you guys remember back in the episode Squidville, okay, where Squidward moves to go and live in like a town where it's all people exactly like him, he finds one of his favorite things that he's always been looking for.
Canned bread! This town is great!
So yeah, this is a really cool Easter egg and shows that whoever wrote this episode knows their lore. This is like a deep cut of a reference, canned bread, really cool. Let's keep it moving though. In the episode, Captain Pipsqueak, Plankton comes up with the ultimate plan to join the League of Evil so that he can take over the world and of course, steal the Krabby Patty secret formula. Well, in order to do this, Plankton has to do an addition, and during this scene, we see numerous villains from previous episodes show up for an addition as well, and boy oh boy does it make for an epic scene full of references. First up is Dennis from the first SpongeBob movie. Then there's this guy, a thug who steals the paddy wagon, also from the first movie, Dr. Negative, Squidward's villain counterpart from the episode Mermaid Pants, really good episode by the way. There's also Madame Hagfish, the Earworm, Robot Mantis, Nosferatu, Gordon the Viking, Dorsal Dan, and my favorites, the Strangler from from the episode Tattletale Strangler, and Doodle Bob from the episode Frankendoodle. That is like 12 to 13 references in one scene. Crazy.
Dude, sign in and wait your turn.
Get out of the car, fellas!
Take all your money and put it in the bag.
No, Mr. Bob, I expect you to fry.
When the full moon rises.
I am the Strangler. I'm the Strangler.
What is this?
To be or line?
Now, when we first mentioned this episode, I went over all of its cool references to past episodes, but I did leave one out, and this is due to it not being from a SpongeBob episode, but from a SpongeBob video game, and that's this blue little dude known as Prawn. Prawn made his first appearance in the SpongeBob video game, SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom. It's really cool to see Prawn make his way over to the actual TV show. I wonder though, does this mean that SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom is now canon? Let me know what you guys think in the comments. I'm curious.
Did someone call? Oh, I thought maybe I was looking at superheroes. But now I see it's just a couple of pieces of gnarled driftwood.
What did Prawn do?
The worst thing you can imagine. He put all of Mermaid Man's white clothes in the washer with a red sock.
What is that yellow thing? Some kind of mold?
I'm not mold, I'm a sponge. There's a cellular difference.
In Chatterbox Gary, SpongeBob acquires a pet translation collar that finally lets his beloved snail Gary speak his mind. Imagine getting one of these for your dog or for your cat or for your hamster. It'd be pretty cool.
Hello there, Papa Bob.
Now, we're gonna get into the Easter eggs. I know that's what you clicked on this video for, but I gotta give you guys the context. That way they make sense. SpongeBob excitedly shows off Gary's new voice to his friends, but when they visit Squidward's house, the real fun begins. Gary surprises Squidward by complimenting his interior decor, revealing that he's actually a really classy snail, you know? He's got a sophisticated sense of design, as Squidward puts it.
Come, Papa Bob. Let's get out of here before this bad taste rubs off on us.
Oh, gee, do you have to?
Don't be sad, Squidward. We'll be back soon.
From here, this is where we get to our first couple of Easter eggs, and they're really, really cool, as this leads to a gallery of in-jokes adorning Squidward's walls. And eagle-eyed fans can definitely spot some of these portraits here and the references that they're referring to. For example, this one right here of handsome Squidward, referencing Squidward's briefly beautified form from the episode The Two Faces of Squidward.
Squidward, you're even more handsome now!
If we keep it moving, in another framed piece, Squidward is shown grappling with a sea bear. And this one is a very specific reference. Like, I really like this one. This one's really cool. It kind of brought back some nostalgia for me, as if we rewind to the episode, the camping episode, where SpongeBob, Patrick, and Squidward all go camping. There's this scene where Squidward refuses to heed SpongeBob and Patrick's anti-sea bear precautions. And yeah, this happens.
No, like that.
Here's a side-by-side, and yeah, this is a really cool callback. If we head back to Squidward's gallery, there's even this painting of a very specific sculpture. It's right here, I'm circling it, and it's a reference to Squidward's sculpture from the episode Are You Happy Now? Again, here's a side-by-side, and yeah, this one's also really cool. And there's more, so let's keep it going. For example, this image right here references the episode Not Normal, specifically this scene, or how about this one? This one references the episode Gone. Here's a side-by-side with the episode Gone and the picture or the portrait, and as you can see, this is a reference, really cool. There's like 3 or 4 more, but I'll let you guys talk about them in the comments. What other portraits here are references to older SpongeBob episodes? To be honest, you shouldn't even be answering this because you should be sleeping, but if you aren't sleeping, it's okay. You can answer this one, but then go like right back to sleep. Alright? Anyways though, the Easter eggs continue when Gary snoops in Squidward's closet. And guys, this is a big one, especially if you're an old school SpongeBob fan like me. I've been watching this show since I was a little kid, even during the Steven Hillenburg era, and this Easter egg really hit me in the heart. Who remembers the episode Band Geeks? In this one, Squidward's arch rival Squilliam shows up, and things get very competitive between Squidward and Squilliam, with it basically leading to Squidward having to form a band and perform at the Bubble Bowl. Well, take a look at this scene where Gary snoops through Squidward's closet.
Oh, tacky. key.
Hold on now.
You may have missed it, but look. Hanging inside is Squidward's marching band uniform from that episode, Band Geeks, complete with everything, like here's a side-by-side, and this is a very clear reference. It's a blink and you'll miss it tribute to Squidward's triumphant Bubble Bowl performance, and it's pretty awesome. Altogether, Chatterbox Gary cleverly weaves these references into the scene, implying that Squidward has kept memories of his many adventures, from the good to the bad, and even the handsome. But let's keep it moving and head over to another episode. When Patrick's mother, Bunny, leaves the Star family home for a week in the episode Cleanin' House, she leaves to claim an inheritance in Clopnod, the location we were talking about earlier. And when she does this, chaos quickly erupts in her absence. Each member of the household is tasked with cleaning a different part of the now filthy house before their mom gets home. And it makes for a good plot, but I know what you guys are actually here for, and it's the Easter eggs, as there are a bunch of visual references and nods to SpongeBob's lore in this episode. Here's the first one, roll the clip. So as you can see right here, I'm looping it, but Patrick can be seen eating a chocolate bar. But this isn't just any old chocolate bar, guys. Take a look at it and then take a look at this scene and it might seem a little familiar.
Did you say chocolate?
Yes, sir. With or without nuts.
Yeah, that's right, guys. The chocolate that Patrick's eating at the start of this episode is the same chocolate bar from Chocolate with Nuts. Here's a side-by-side. And dude, now I'm hungry. Deep fried crabs today. This chocolate bar. I'm gonna go get some food after this. But yeah, really cool reference, guys. And here's another one. Roll the clip. Alright, so let me explain. As you can see, there are 3 disgusting cockroaches right here, and they may seem a little bit familiar to you guys, as their design resembles the one that we seen back in the episode, Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy 4. Okay, and here's one more from this episode, and you all should right away get this reference. Roll the clip.
She says she's coming back home.
Home? We gotta get the place clean before Bunny gets back.
I ain't doing any cleaning.
We'll start with your filthy mouth, Dad.
Now listen, I'm gonna be honest with you guys, and no matter what, Cartoon Corey loves ya and respects ya, but if you did not catch that Easter egg, you're kind of a fake SpongeBob fan, as you guys just heard, dolphin chirps were used as replacements for curse words, which is a direct reference to the iconic episode Sailor Mouth. Another spooky episode is Curse of the Were-Doodle. This Halloween special brings back one of SpongeBob's scariest creations, Doodlebob. But honestly, Doodlebob's one of my favorite characters. Like, he's awesome. Take a look at this funny clip from his original episode. But yeah, in this episode, Curse of the Were-Doodle, SpongeBob is bitten by Doodlebob, the wicked pencil-drawn duplicate of SpongeBob from Season 2's Frankendoodle, and this transforms him into a Were-Doodle. This happens whenever the moonlight hits, and it's essentially a werewolf-like doodle version of himself. Take a look at this clip. As a tribute to his pencil-drawn roots, the episode is overflowing with references to Frankendoodle, and even a recent Doodlebob cameo, making it a goldmine for fans of SpongeBob lore. Once SpongeBob's Were-Doodle side starts wreaking havoc, the homages come fast and furious. For example, take a look at the way the Were-Doodle repeatedly body slams Mr. Krabs in this scene right here. Dude, he's just like flinging the poor crab back and forth like a rag doll. But this is a direct visual callback to Doodlebob's infamous beatdown of Squidward in Frankendoodle. Doodleboy, stop! Did you guys catch that? As in that 2002 episode, Doodlebob pounced on Squidward and smashed him flat in the exact same manner. This has also happened before. If we go back to the episode Squidiot Box, Doodlebob does the exact same thing. Take a look. Yeah, really cool references here, guys, and there's more. Let's keep it rolling. As the Were-Doodle's next rampage moment is another scene ripped straight from Frankendoodle. As you guys just seen, the Were-Doodle took that long wooden beam and turned it into a pencil by chewing on it. And longtime fans will immediately recall Doodlebob's tactic in Frankendoodle, where he grabbed the magic pencil and did the exact same thing after it snapped, complete with the same frenzied sharpening sound effects. Seeing the Were-Doodle do this with an entire wooden post is a hilarious escalation of the reference. And the episode doesn't stop there. During the climax of the episode, during the chase, the Were-Doodle defeats Bubble Bass by drawing a quick hole on the ground, which results in this happening to Bubble Bass. Roll the clip. This trick is a carbon copy of Doodlebob's strategy from Frankendoodle, of course, where the villainous Doodle sketched a pit to trap SpongeBob and Patrick. In Curse of the Were-Doodle, the context has changed, with Bubble Bass being the unlucky victim this time. But the visual gag is an instant whole, complete with the scribbled edges and Bubble Bass's shocked expression as he drops through the hand-drawn void. This episode, Curse of the Were-Doodle, is very good. So many cool Easter eggs in it. Next up, we have the episode Day of the Living Dad Jokes, and this is a The Patrick Star Show episode, but the Easter egg here is really important as it somewhat impacts SpongeBob lore. Just saying that, like SpongeBob lore sounds crazy, but it is a thing. But as you guys know, about a year ago, the Sandy Cheeks movie released on Netflix, a 3D animated film that was all about Sandy Cheeks, obviously, but it also introduced a ton of new characters from her family. Now, I've mentioned this in a previous video, but something that the SpongeBob creators have been doing lately is they've been bringing the SpongeBob universe together. So for example, characters introduced in their spin-off projects, so characters introduced in like the Patrick Star Show or the Sandy Cheeks movie or the Plankton movie, etc., they've been appearing in regular SpongeBob. And that's what we're going to be talking about here, as this episode marks the first time that we've ever gotten to see her relative, Paw Cheeks, this guy right here, who before this we've only ever seen him 3D animated, but in this episode it's the first time we get to see the character in traditional SpongeBob animation. So yeah, a quick one, but it's really cool, and roll the clip.
Hey, Sandy, what does a bee use to comb his hair? Honeycomb!
The character, Flats the Flounder, made multiple appearances in early seasons of SpongeBob. For example, Sandy's Rocket, Texas, but most notably The Bully, where he plays a major role, where he pretty much wants to kick SpongeBob's butt throughout the entire episode just for sitting beside him and saying, hey, poor SpongeBob. Now, since The Bully, he hasn't had very many appearances. He has appeared a few times, but it has been fairly limited. That was until the episode Don't Feed the Clowns, as he's actually a customer of the bakery who gets knocked out by getting hit with a pie. Talk about a cool reference. It's nice to see Flats the Flounder back in action again, especially in a more recent episode.
SpongeBob! I can't believe you beat up a new student. I'm going to kick your butt!
Next up, we have Dr. Smart Science.
We now return to one of my favorite scientific topics, astronomy.
Okay, so back before your mom and sister started obsessing over astrology, Squidward over here was a big fan of astrology. Like, my boy was a crystal girly. As back in 2000 and 2001, there was this series of shorts called Astrology with Squidward that would air on Nickelodeon during the commercial breaks in between shows. Okay, so the history lesson is done now. Now we can break down the Easter egg, as despite not being referenced or talked about for years, Astrology with Squidward was actually referenced in this episode, Dr. Smart Science. As look, Patrick has a wheel with various SpongeBob characters representing the astrology signs. And to really show that this one is 100% a reference, some of the signs, for example Leo, I'm doing a side-by-side, are even the same. But let's get back to something that a lot of you guys will actually catch, alright? Because like I said, this one was kind of a deep cut. Here's Easter egg number 2.
How does that work?
You guys know I love classic references, and that's exactly what this one is, as back in Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy 4, a big plot element is that Mermaid Man leaves this belt right here behind. It's his super belt. It has all these super abilities. SpongeBob plays with it and ends up shrinking Squidward down. And when he's trying to figure out how he can reverse this and get poor Squidward back to regular size, Patrick over here, being, you know, a genius, suggests that he flips the M to a W to put it in Wumbo mode. Yeah, well, Wumbo mode mode is somewhat referenced in Dr. Smart Science, as in the Patrick's How Does That Work intro, we can see this text right here saying Wumboology or Wumbology, making a clear nod or reference to what I was just mentioning from Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy 4. In the episode Enemies a la Mode, a Patrick Star Show episode, Patrick is supposed to host his variety show, but becomes obsessed with getting ice cream. I can't really blame him. Ice cream's pretty good. I could go for like an Oreo McFlurry right now, but nonetheless, this episode's premise revolves around Patrick's family members confronting absurd rivalries. Well, Patrick himself is just more concerned with ice cream, with him chasing down an elusive ice cream truck. And this innocent setup actually hides a bunch of Easter eggs. For example, at one point of this episode, we get this like black and white segment, where it's a flashback featuring Grandpat recounting the ice cream prohibition era, a spoof on real life prohibition, where he frequented secret sweet easies until he was caught in jail. Now, during this flashback, eagle-eyed fans can spot a blink and you'll miss it Easter egg. As Grandpat is hauled into a paddy wagon, we can see this eel inmate inside of the truck right here. Now, he may just seem like a random character, but it's actually been confirmed by SpongeBob staff that this character is related to another SpongeBob character. It was deliberately designed as the grandfather of Carlos Eel, a very obscure character from the SpongeBob episode Walking Small. In this episode, Walking Small, from all the way back in season 1, Carlos Eel steals SpongeBob's ice cream cone at Goo Lagoon by sliding straight through SpongeBob's body to snatch the cone. Plankton then forces SpongeBob to be assertive, famously shouting through SpongeBob's mouth. Terrified, Carlos bursts into tears and flees, tossing the ice cream back at SpongeBob.
Surrender that ice cream cone, or every waking moment for you will become a swirling torrent of pain and misery!
Well, this flashback in Enemies a la Mode cleverly mirrors this history, and it's also just a really cool reference. I mean, Carlos Eel is like the most random deep cut character ever from a season 1 episode, so the fact that the art team and the writers went out of their way to include a character that's related to him is really cool. Another fun fact about this is that Grandpat's eel cellmate got jailed for ice cream related crimes, which is very funny because if you remember, Carlos Eel stole SpongeBob's ice cream, so there's even some really cool continuity there. Like, this writer and artist who did like all the conceptual art for him is a true SpongeBob fan. Like, that's a true SpongeBob nerd just like me. Speaking of ice cream though, Enemies a la Mode features another rare character return. This guy right here, the ice cream truck driver himself, or the waiter from the SpongeBob SquarePants movie. Early in the episode, Patrick chases down a cheerful ice cream vendor named Walter, who upon seeing Patrick approaching is struck in with horror. And through a flashback to their childhood, we learn why. As a kid, Patrick tasted Walter's ice cream and went absolutely ballistic, like the dude just went completely fair. Now, longtime viewers will recognize Goofy Goobers as the ice cream parlor from the SpongeBob SquarePants movie. In fact, Walter appears to be the very same green ice cream man who has repeatedly suffered at the hands of Patrick and SpongeBob in the past, with them just covering him in ice cream. For example, this scene right here from the SpongeBob SquarePants movie from 2004.
Why do I always get the nuts?
A similar gag like this occurs in the season 11 episode Pat Nokia, where Patrick, under Plankton's influence, orders this crazy massive ice cream order of sundaes, and being the clumsy starfish that he is, he flings one right into the same vendor's face. Our poor guy Walter is just always getting hit with ice cream. Well, in Enemies a la Mode, it's implied that Walter is the very same vendor, with a very traumatic past with Patrick. Patrick even kept a childlike crayon drawing of the mean old ice cream man as his sworn enemy. This continuity makes the scene extra hilarious for fans. The poor ice cream man thought he'd seen the last of Patrick's chaos years ago, only to have the pink dude return wanting more ice cream and chasing him down throughout like the whole episode. And those aren't the only Easter eggs here. In Grandpat's Prohibition flashback, many character designs reference 1930s animation, and Squeedina's popsicle in the present day is actually a reference itself. It's shaped like a bomb pop, a nod to a real-life frozen treat. The episode's title itself, Enemies a la Mode, echoes the season 5 SpongeBob episode title, Crabs a la Mode. Another really good episode, by the way. All of these layers make this a really good episode filled with tons of references. Like, they're really cool. In the season 16 episode, Exchange Student Driver, Mrs. Puff finally finds a clever, well, kind of extreme solution to get a break from SpongeBob's never-ending boating school failures. She decides to enroll him in a foreign exchange program and ships him off to a distant driving school in Klopnok. Klopnod. If you've heard of Klopnod before, it's because this is actually like kind of a reference. If we go back to the Patrick Star Show episode, Klopnodian Heritage Festival, we were introduced to this whole culture.
I'm so happy to be sharing my Klopnodian culture with my family.
According to this pamphlet, Klopnod is the silliest place in the ocean.
So it's cool that that was referenced here. This is another example of them, you know, expanding the universe and connecting the spin-offs to the main show. This location has appeared tons of times in the Patrick Star Show, but this was the first time it ever appeared in SpongeBob. And it kind of makes it now like 100% a canon location. But let's move on. Let's talk about the episode Exchange Student Driver, a new one from season 16. When Mrs. Puff enrolls SpongeBob in a faraway driving school exchange program just to get rid of him, can't really blame her, our absorbent hero finds himself in a familiar location, Klopnod, a bizarre town where reckless driving is the norm, so SpongeBob fits right in. The premise flips the usual boating school formula, where SpongeBob's chaotic driving style, which is normally a nightmare in Bikini Bottom, like this guy has nearly killed people before, turns out to be perfect in Klopnod. In fact, he performs so well and is such a standout student that the Klopnodian instructor awards SpongeBob with a driver's license, carved on a turnip, no less. And this is where our first Easter egg, well, I guess this is more of a fact, comes in. And don't worry, just saying, there are a ton of Easter eggs coming up, so stay tuned. This one's just really interesting, and it's actually kind of controversial. As if you go to the comments of the fandom page of this episode, you'll see that there's a lot of people upset at the fact that SpongeBob received his license, and I'll explain why. Creator Steven Hillenburg, the person who created Bikini Bottom, made SpongeBob like the OG of SpongeBob, famously said that SpongeBob should never permanently earn his license. Why? Well, to preserve the comedic tension with Mrs. Puff, which is a big part of many episodes, including this episode, Exchange Student Driver, but also to fulfill Nickelodeon's mandate that the show should revolve around a school setting and a teacher character. For those of you who don't know this, Mrs. Puff was a character that Nickelodeon pretty much demanded. They basically told Steven Hillenburg that if you're going to make a show like this, there needs to be some educational aspect to it, which is why SpongeBob goes to boating school and learns, though if you really think about it, the dude never really progresses. Well, at least he does in this episode, but that's the issue here. However, there's actually a workaround for this. By giving SpongeBob a license only in Klopnod, the episode cleverly skirts Hillenburg's rule without technically breaking it, since SpongeBob still isn't licensed in Bikini Bottom. He got his license in Klopnod, a completely different location. Let me know what you guys think about this one in the comments, but do you think that because it happened in a different location that it makes it okay? But yeah, a fun fact about this episode I wanted to talk about, but let's get into an actual Easter egg here. As throughout this episode, as it progresses and we see SpongeBob at Mrs. Puff's boating school, longtime viewers may catch a classroom callback in this episode. This thing right here is the good noodle board. Mrs. Puff's star chart, or basically like a chart for how she tracks the behavior of her students. It made its first appearance years ago, like 25 years ago, back in the classic episode, one of my favorites, New Student Starfish, where SpongeBob shows Patrick the board and explains its function before class.
Those drinks are recorded here on the good noodle board.
Huh? Oh, sorry.
SpongeBob in this episode eventually actually gets in trouble thanks to Patrick and loses one of his stars.
Turning, it is important to signal at least 40 feet from the
Big
turn.
fat meanie, you can't do that. She's the teacher.
What about the teacher? What? As if I really look like this.
Well, it's really cool to see it pop up again in this episode, and it shows that whoever wrote this episode knows their stuff. They're a real SpongeBob fan. As there's been other episodes that have shown Mrs. Puff's classroom, like the classroom at the boating school, and the good noodle board is not there. So this was intentional. Also, just saying, I don't normally do this, but if this Easter egg sounds familiar, it's because there's a very similar one in another episode that I covered recently, where the good noodle board popped up again. So yeah, just saying, this was a new Easter egg. Moving on though, I've got some more Easter eggs for you guys in the form of character cameos. And of course, all the cameos here are characters that are pretty rare. We're gonna be covering more cameos in other episodes in this video, so stay tuned. But let's get into it. As I mentioned, Mrs. Puff sends SpongeBob on like a boat driving exchange student thing, where he's being sent to Klopnod. And we get this scene where we see the travel there with a map. And there are a bunch of deep cut references on here. And I'm very proud, as they're ones ones that the SpongeBob fandom wiki hasn't even found yet. For one, just as the boat is approaching no man's land, we'll see right here that these are the trench monsters from the 2004 SpongeBob SquarePants movie. Now you might not see it right away because there's just eyes, but this is specifically a reference to when SpongeBob and Patrick are walking through right here, and as you can see, there's all of these different eyes. Also, they're very clearly like on the map in trenches, so yeah, this is a subtle reference right here, but it's definitely a reference. However, the next two are way more blatant. For example, just passing no man's land, we can see the Cyclops character from the same 2004 SpongeBob movie. This character right here, we can see that his leg or his boot is put down on the no man's land area of the map. Pretty cool. And if you were questioning the last two, here's one that absolutely confirms it. In that 2004 SpongeBob movie, we were introduced to Maximus, this character right here. And what I really want you to pay attention to is the small traffic light at the top of his head acting like a lantern of a glowfish. As if we go back to that same map part, look, Maximus is right here. The colors are slightly off as you can see in this side by side, but the reason we know for sure is that traffic light on top of his head right here, which basically reaffirms the other two Easter eggs I was mentioning of the trench monsters and of the Cyclops, who also all appeared in that original 2004 SpongeBob SquarePants movie. I imagine that whoever, like the production team around this episode, exchange student driver, one of them probably worked on the movie or something in the past, but who knows. One other thing I want to talk about real quickly, and then we'll head into more Easter eggs in another episode, guys. Stay tuned because I've got some of the coolest Easter eggs coming up. But here's some behind the scenes stuff about this episode. As remember how I said SpongeBob got his license on a turnip? We actually got to see the process of how this came to life, with Shane Richardson, Hannah Hong, George N, and Amy L sharing these drawings online, where we can see the first process of the photo, the second process of the photo, then we can see the shot in the episode where it's blank, and then finally this shot where we can actually see the driver's license text. And fun fact, these were originally painted before being scanned in with the lines drawn digitally. So some really cool stuff right there, but let's head over to another episode. So I guess this next one is less of an Easter egg and more of a theory. In the episode Food Con Castaways, SpongeBob and the gang find themselves lost in a random forest. Now throughout the episode, the forest isn't given an actual name, but a lot of people online speculate that this could be Kelp Forest, the same forest from the iconic Season 3 episode Club SpongeBob. We don't know for sure, but if you need some more proof, it seems the title card for Food Con Castaways is taken from a background scene of Club SpongeBob. In SpongeBob, every episode has a production code, and sometimes these production codes will be hidden in episodes as Easter eggs. So, as you can imagine, this is exactly the case in the episode Food PBFFT Truck, as one of the signs at the Rock Bottom Mall reads SB138, which is actually a reference to the production code of the Season 1 episode Rock Bottom, which makes sense because it's in the Rock Bottom Mall. So yeah, it's very subtle, but boy, is it cool to see such an iconic episode referenced in the modern day. So as you guys have probably heard, the consensus for SpongeBob's spin-off show, Camp Coral, is pretty negative. I mean, if you just search it on YouTube, there are tons of videos of people criticizing it, and I get it. The show definitely was a little bit of a cash grab, but if you ever hear somebody say that Nickelodeon went against Steven Hillenburg's wishes with Camp Coral, or that he didn't want the show to happen, it's come out that that is not true. And let's talk about that for a second, and then we're gonna get into more Easter eggs in a Camp Coral episode. But this, in and of itself, is a fact and is some trivia. In a 2001 interview with multiple SpongeBob production members, it was revealed that Steven absolutely knew about the show. He was weary about the CGI aspect of the show, but he was working on it and knew it was happening. Furthermore, Vincent Waller, another big member of SpongeBob's production, also went on to say that Steve absolutely knew about the show. The only thing we don't know is how he would have felt about the final product, as unfortunately he passed away before he could see that. But Vincent explains that Steve specifically left him and the rest of the team in charge and trusted them to guard his creation to the best of their ability. And it seems like they're doing that. So there's a little bit of trivia about Camp Coral for you right there. Nickelodeon didn't just force this show to happen like a lot of people think, but let's get back to the original Easter egg I was going to talk about. And it's from the Camp Coral episode Game Night, which is actually a really good episode and a good example of how good this show actually can be. This episode shifts the spotlight from SpongeBob to to SpongeBob's summer camp counselors, youthful versions of Mr. Krabs, Mrs. Puff, and Plankton, as they sneak away from the campers for a grown-ups evening of board games. Well, this episode is a treasure trove of playful references, especially when it comes to the board games that they choose to play, with each one spoofing a real-world classic in a character-appropriate way. It's actually some really good writing here. Plankton excitedly suggests a game called Peril, the game of undersea conquest, clearly a parody of the global domination board game Risk, a perfect fit for Plankton's world domination obsession, and a cool reference to a real-life board game. Another reference can be found when Mr. Krabs counters with Money-opoly, a not-so-subtle nod to Monopoly, with the mascot looking exactly like Monopoly's Mr. Moneybags. He also looks like somebody else you guys may have noticed, but he looks familiar to a certain Spongy dad. I mean, if we do a side-by-side, like, the mascot looks almost identical to SpongeBob's dad. A potentially intentional Easter egg that suggests that Harold Squarepants has another job in this universe. But moving on, Mrs. Puff shoots them both down, grumbling that Mr. Krabs always plays the bank and always wins, a wink to anyone who's caught a cheater swiping extra cash when acting as the banker in real-life Monopoly. Funnily enough, in the dialogue, it's recalled that the last time they played Slot Boat Racers, Mr. Krabs accidentally ran over Plankton's leg. This setup delivers a double Easter egg. As Plankton gripes about his still healing leg, we suddenly get a close-up and hear the famous line, "My leg," coming probably from the character Fred.
My leg is still healing. His leg!
But beyond the games themselves, the episode Game Night hides a sweet callback to SpongeBob's childhood comforts. When SpongeBob barges in on the secret gathering with an emergency, we learn that he's upset because his teddy bear is missing, only for it to turn up under his bunk bed covers later on. What a waste of time. But the teddy bear's design, a cute brown stuffed bear, will probably ring a bell for fans of the episode Skill Crane. In that episode, SpongeBob wins a very similar looking teddy from a carnival crane machine. The Camp Coral teddy isn't explicitly named, but its appearance feels like a tip of the hat to Skill Crane, showing that SpongeBob's affection for cuddly bears spans across his life. That, or it was just written that he would have a teddy bear, and because it's a generic teddy bear, it just turns out to be an Easter egg. But good job, because they accidentally made an Easter egg here, and it's actually a pretty cool one. Now, I'm almost done with this episode, but one more cheeky detail in Game Night is that there's a lot of jokes that are aimed primarily at grown-ups in the audience, as opposed to kids. For example, as the counselors set up their game, Mrs. Puff pours drinks into plastic solo cups. And there's another scene where Mr. Krabs conveniently sips on his cup, remarking that these child-free evenings are the only thing keeping me sane.
You know, sometimes I think these adult-only nights are the only thing keeping me sanity in check.
Though never clearly stated, the scene strongly implies that the adults are enjoying some camp punch. I don't know for sure, but I do think that this was meant to be one of those types of jokes right here. Let me know what you guys think in the comments though. This next one also has to do with our favorite seahorse, Mystery. So let's skip the plot summary and get right into the Easter egg, as Mystery makes a really cool, and I mean really cool, cameo in the episode Gary and Spot, and can be seen during this dance party scene. Oh, also, the classic character, Pluffy Fluffy, from the episode A Pal for Gary, you might remember it like turns into a monster, also makes an appearance in this episode and can be seen in this cage during this scene, thus making for another nostalgic Easter egg. So this next one is a bit of a deep cut, so get ready, as what the episode references is very subtle. I didn't even realize it at first. In the episode Ghost Host, the Flying Dutchman realizes that he's lost his scary mojo. So to try and sharpen his skills, he tries to scare both SpongeBob and Squidward. It doesn't go very well, but during one of his attempts to scare SpongeBob, he transforms into this big red bug thing. And honestly, since this episode, we haven't really seen it since, but it seems that this exact transformation is referenced in the episode Ink Lemonade, as during this scene, where Squidward first enters the creepy nursery, there is a picture of this exact same big red bug that the Flying Dutchman turned into on the wall, thus making for, like I said, a really deep cut in terms of Easter eggs. Like, the Flying Dutchman transforms 50 plus times in Ghost Host, so it's interesting that they chose this one to reference in particular. The episode Go Fetch stands out in SpongeBob history as the first fully CGI animated episode of the series, and it uses unique visuals to drive into a simple, sweet adventure. Gary's favorite red ball bounces into a deep, monster-filled trench, and SpongeBob loyally plunges in after it.
Good thing this huge pile of lost balls broke our fall.
From the very start, the animators hid references in the background art, but not all of it made it into the final episode. For example, early concept paintings for the trench include scenery modeled after SpongeBob's Season 1 episode, Muscle Bob Buff Pants. And there's also a scene that didn't make it into the episode, resembling imagery from SpongeBob's Season 4 episode, Have You Seen This Snail? Which is fitting because this episode does follow a similar plot. Now these are subtle nods. A rock formation here, a lighting setup there, that gives long viewers a warm sense of deja vu as SpongeBob and Gary descend through the dark depths. But the treasures of Go Fetch aren't just in the scenery, they're also in the props and characters. Gary's coveted red ball is a direct continuity nod to the episode Gary's New Toy from Season 9, where Gary becomes obsessed with this toy.
Go and get it. Fetch!
As you can see, this ball is very similar to the one in Go Fetch. In fact, the ball here is actually identical to the one to that episode, down to its color and pattern. Seeing Gary refuse to give up on his toy is extra rewarding if you recall how much the snail loved his bouncy ball back in Gary's New Toy. The thing became obsessed with the toy. I don't know why I just called Gary a thing, but he was obsessed with that ball. And there's more. As SpongeBob chases Gary's ball deeper, they encounter a ghostly translucent fish lurking in the abyss. And if you're a true SpongeBob fan, you'll recognize the design, as it bears a striking resemblance to a quirky character from the SpongeBob SquarePants movie. In the movie, a similarly transparent floater appears during the trench scene, and here that design resurfaces as if the film and show have converged. It's a blink and you'll miss it cameo, but a thrilling one, to be honest. It's really cool to see a reference to that OG 2004 SpongeBob movie. If you haven't watched that, seriously go watch it, it's really good. Now, despite being a modern technical showpiece, like this is the first episode in 3D animation and hopefully it's the last. I like 2D SpongeBob, but this one still feels almost nostalgic in spirit. It even includes a gentle tribute to the late Steven Hillenburg's storytelling style, mostly visual, adventurous, and guided by music and expression, and all without saying a word. So really good episode, and I've got more. Let's head over to more Easter eggs in this next episode. Next up is the episode Gorilla Suit Day, another one from season 16. I've been covering tons of new episodes in this video, just saying, so please subscribe. But if you're a true SpongeBob fan, the episode name Gorilla Suit Day should already kind of give you an idea of one of the Easter eggs here. But like I said, you gotta be a hardcore SpongeBob fan. But we'll get there. So the premise itself of this episode is really fun. On the annual Gorilla Suit Day, SpongeBob dons a full-body gorilla costume, and with Patrick's help, plans to prank the whole town. Right from SpongeBob's morning routine, the episode starts referencing classic SpongeBob moments. For one, when SpongeBob wakes up, he excitedly checks a giant calendar on his bedroom wall. And this itself is a reference, as if we rewind back to the season 1 episode Boating School, take a look at this scene.
This is it, Gary. The big boating exam is today. I've never felt so capable!
Here's a side-by-side, and yeah, those are the two exact same calendars. So a cool Easter egg there again, but let's keep it moving. SpongeBob then enthusiastically swings on a vine and launches himself into the calendar to mark the date, which is also another direct homage to Boating School, as you guys just saw. The only difference this time, and I'm showing it side-by-side and looping them, is that he's imitating Tarzan instead of using his bed as a catapult. And here's another fun fact for you guys about this episode. As you heard, SpongeBob did like a Tarzan-like roar just now. And funnily enough, the sound clip that was used for this is actually a recycled clip, as listen to this scene from the episode Who Are Zoo. Yeah, the animators or the editors were feeling kind of lazy and they used the exact same sound effect and recycled it in this episode. Also, the whole gorilla suit thing seems to be somewhat of a reference to the episode I Had an Accident, as at the end of that episode, Patrick dresses up in a gorilla outfit. We're not done with this one yet though. As SpongeBob struts around in his gorilla outfit, eagle-eyed viewers might notice a familiar design. The gorilla suit he wears looks identical to the one he briefly tried on in the season 6 episode Boating Buddies. Except in this episode, the fur is gray rather than brown. In my opinion, guys, I think that this one's a reach, but if you were to go on like the SpongeBob Reddit, I've seen people debating if this is an Easter egg, so don't blame me, I'm just presenting it to you. Later, when SpongeBob tears apart the house in a panic because he gets stuck in the suit and starts being mistaken for a real gorilla, he starts searching for his trusty spatula. And listen closely as he calls it something specific.
Spatty? Spatty!
As you heard, SpongeBob referred to his spatula calling it Spatty. And if we listen to how SpongeBob refers to his spatula in an older episode, Spatula of the Heavens, listen, he calls it the same thing.
My spatula's broken, Mr. Krabs. I can't make Krabby Patties without Spatty.
This episode also adds to a running gag about Mr. Krabs and deep fryers. Unfortunately for our favorite crab over here, there have been numerous instances in older episodes where Mr. Krabs has just straight up gotten deep fried. For example, take a look at this clip from the episode Whatever Happened to SpongeBob.
Mr. Krabs, are you okay?
I'm fine.
Ouch, that definitely hurt. And it happened again in the episode Mermaid Pants. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I'm feeling pretty hungry now, but that's not what we're here for, as this gag of Mr. Krabs getting deep fried was actually referenced in Gorilla Suit Day. As take a look at this scene.
You can't fry me. I'm not even better. I hate Gorilla Suit Day.
Hey, at least it happens off camera this time, but that sounded like it really hurt. Turns out though that Mr. Krabs isn't the only person to get hurt in this episode. For one more final meta gag or reference, Squidward ends up getting physically squashed by a rampaging real gorilla that appears, which is a callback to the episode I mentioned earlier, I Had an Accident, where something very similar happens. By the end of the episode, the town is in chaos, but fans are treated to a treasure trove of references. From SpongeBob's calendar shenanigans to Mr. Krabs getting deep fried, this episode's a good one with lots of Easter eggs. I recommend it. Our next Easter egg revolves around the season 1 episode, Muscle Bob Buff Pants. After getting roasted by Sandy for not being as strong or fit, SpongeBob resorts to some interesting methods to prove her wrong and purchases a new product he sees on TV known as anchor arms. These things are pretty much gloves that can be inflated with air to look like muscles, and SpongeBob is sold pretty fast after seeing the commercial, with him ordering himself a pair so he can lie and flex on all of his friends. Well, this devious product is actually referenced in the season 11 episode Handemonium. Right at the beginning of the episode, we see the outside of Larry's gym, and if you look closely, there is graffiti that reads "Anchor arms are for wimps," thus making a direct reference to the classic season 1 episode. There's also another Easter egg here, but let me know in the comments if you spotted it. The episode Heart of Garbage, another one from season 16, plunges Bikini Bottom into dystopian chaos when Squidward's home becomes ground zero for an ever-growing mountain of trash. Ew. Like, look at this, I can smell it from here. It reminds me of SpongeBob's breath back in the episode Something Smells. It also reminds me of something else, but we'll get to that in a moment. In a storyline that is part parody, part homage, Squidward accidentally angers the garbage men and ends up literally trapped in garbage for 6 months.
The trash goes in the truck, not on my lawn. Just put the garbage where it's supposed to go.
Dude, imagine being trapped in garbage for that long. Oh my god. Just imagine how bad Squidward smells right now. But more importantly, guys, this is actually a reference to something. This riffs on Joseph Conrad's Heart of Darkness and its famous film adaptation Apocalypse Now. The entire episode functions as a playful underwater echo of that classic tale. And I mean, just look at the plot. SpongeBob and Patrick must venture through a garbage jungle to find Squidward, much like Marlowe taking a journey up a river to find Kurtz.
You made it this far, but you still must pass the booby traps up ahead.
Please!
This homage is acknowledged right in the title as well. I mean, it's called Heart of Garbage, which is a direct spoof of Heart of Darkness. Also, fun fact, longtime viewers will recall that this isn't the first time that Squidward's house has been overtaken by trash. Back in season 7's Keep Bikini Bottom Beautiful, SpongeBob once helped Squidward avoid littering fines by moving all of his litter to his house, thus turning his house into a house of garbage, complete with trash furniture and a trash bed. I don't think that bed would be very comfy, guys. Like right now, you're probably in bed watching this video. Imagine if you were in that garbage bed, you would not be getting any sleep. But anyways, Heart of Garbage hilariously encapsulates that concept. But instead of a one-off slight gag, the entire interior of Squidward's real house becomes a sprawling garbage labyrinth that SpongeBob and Patrick have to navigate. The episode Hog Huntin' follows SpongeBob and Patrick on a wild countryside adventure, tracking down Old Man Jakin's prized worm hog, a pig-like critter, after it goes missing.
You keep your hands off my beautiful Beulah!
I wasn't touching her, I was just, admiring her beauty.
Meow.
This episode dives into a ton of good humor that plays into the whole countryman stereotype. Think barnyards, beards, and backwoods shenanigans pretty much. It's a good episode. But it also hides a couple of clever pop culture parodies. One of the first gags comes when SpongeBob stumbles on Old Man Jenkins watching his favorite soap opera, Days of Our Styes. For those of you who don't know, this title is a really funny little goof referencing the long-running soap opera, Days of Our Lives. The show's writers are clearly winking at the audience here. Bikini Bottom has its own version of Days of Our Lives, only with hogs instead of people. And if that sounds familiar, it's because SpongeBob has spoofed this exact soap opera before in the episode Were Gary. This one is a snail-focused drama called Snails of Our Lives, played on TV as a pet parody of the same series. Later in this episode, Hog Huntin' treats us to a musical Easter egg that's perfectly in tune with the episode's country western vibe. SpongeBob and Patrick end up literally living in Old Man Jenkins' enormous beard for a while. Long story short, hiding from an angry Jenkins after a failed hog-catching attempt. During their cozy exile in his facial hair, and sings a delightful ditty titled Home in a Beard. Take a listen, but we can't play it for too long because I'm not trying to get destroyed by copyright.
Home in a beard, where the whiskers and stubble are weird.
If the melody and theme sound old-timey to you, that's by design. Home in a Beard is a direct parody of the classic American folk song Home on the Range. The original 1972 song famously yearns for life on the open prairie, whereas SpongeBob's version yearns for, well, the comfort of living in a bristly old beard. I cannot relate. Between the soap opera spoofs and folk song parodies, Hog Huntin' shows that even in jellyfish fields and barns, SpongeBob's world is never far from ours, or from its own past jokes. Next up is Hot Pearl Tato, another episode from Camp Coral. When a baby Pearl Krabs shows up at Camp Coral, SpongeBob and friends struggle to babysit the mighty infant. I mean, considering how much of a pain Pearl is like in regular SpongeBob, just imagine like baby Pearl. This girl one time almost flooded the entire Krusty Krab because she couldn't find a date to prom.
Here, take SpongeBob!
The fry cook! Do you know what that would do to my complexion? People will mistake me for a planetarium.
What do you mean?
I don't know.
So just imagine a baby version of her, oh my god. As I expected, she's a handful, crawling off into the woods, which leads to some wild encounters with mythical camp critters. In one scene, SpongeBob's camp buddies, Bubble Bass, Kevin, and Harvey, break out a board game called Escape from Mom's Basement. This hilarious fictional game is a wink at adult Bubble Bass's well-known living situation. I mean, also here's a side-by-side, as this game, Escape from Mom's Basement, basically looks exactly like adult Bubble Bass's actual setup in his mom's basement. And yeah, this is definitely the writers having a little bit of fun here. Later on in the episode, as SpongeBob and Squidward chase baby Pearl through the kelp forest, they bounce off a slumbering giant creature. And this thing should be familiar to you guys. It's a sea moose, also known as a moose snail. Now, eagle-eyed fans may recognize this beast, as it first appeared in the main series episode, A Cabin in the Kelp, blocking the Gal Pals road trip. Seeing it here marks the creature's return, now in a CG form, as it swats at SpongeBob and Squidward until Pearl shows off her inherited strength. The episode even brings in a campfire legend, a sea bear. And for those of you who don't know, the sea bear first appeared in the episode, The Camping Episode.
Maybe it's because you're not wearing your sombrero in a goofy fashion.
You mean like this?
No, like that.
It's had a few brief appearances since then, but its main role has been in the camping episode from season 3 where it beats up Squidward. So it appearing here is definitely some sort of reference. So yeah, lots of interesting Easter eggs in this episode, and let's keep it moving. Historical history, here's the first Easter egg.
Tickets, please.
That's really cool. So as you just seen there, King Neptune's crown from the first 2004 SpongeBob SquarePants movie appears in a glass case at the museum entrance. A really cool reference to literally the best SpongeBob movie, just saying. Here's Easter egg number 2.
Wow! A genuine antique rock! The pioneers used to ride these babies for miles!
I love this one. I'm not 100% sure if this is an intentional Easter egg, but I also really do think it is. As you've seen in Pizza Delivery, SpongeBob makes a comment about being able to ride a rock, and then he literally even rides the rock in the episode. And it seems this is referenced in Hysterical History, because as you guys just heard, SpongeBob looks at this antique rock and says that the pioneers used to ride these babies for miles, and the rock is even rideable just like in Pizza Delivery. So cool. Let's keep it going though. More Easter eggs are coming up.
A gazillion years ago, Bikini Top was hit by a humongous anchor.
It's really quick, but Primitive SpongeBob and Primitive Patrick from SB129 reappear during the Bikini Bottom origin scene. Also, the prehistoric location and houses from UGG also reappear in the scene.
Pioneers have to watch out for those dirty, stinky outlaws.
It's the Grungy Gang. Oh, I knew something smelled fishy.
This Easter egg is more of like a recent one, so I understand some of you guys not getting it. But if you look at these guys that are a part of the Grungy Gang, they're actually the same cowboys from the season 13 episode, A Skin Wrinkle in Time.
Psychedelic Sea Era.
Yeah, so who remembers SpongeBob's Last Stand? Patrick and SpongeBob, they like protest the demolition of Jellyfish Fields, and they dressed like hipster versions of themselves. Well, they make a reappearance in this scene right here, and they look as chill as ever. Next up is the episode In Search of Camp Nudist. In this episode, SpongeBob and friends hear a rumor of a secret nudist camp in the woods. Yes, you read that right. So the group set off on a curious quest to find it. SpongeBob, Patrick, and Sandy tromp through the forest in search of the fabled Camp Nudist, while camp counselors Mr. Krabs and Squidward chase after them in a panic. I mean, they definitely don't want a bunch of kids stumbling onto naked campers, right? As the hike wears on, Squidward grows exhausted, and this is where we could find an Easter egg. In a dramatized moment, Squidward collapses and wheezes for Camp Master Krabs to go on without him, and what follows is a cheeky nod to SpongeBob's own theme song. Mr. Krabs shrugs and immediately marches ahead while whistling this. Roll the clip.
You have to go on without me.
Okay.
What? Wait, hey, don't leave me alone out here!
It's a blink and you'll miss it Easter egg that longtime viewers instantly recognize, as Mr. Krabs just sang the SpongeBob SquarePants theme song, or at least a very similar version of it. I'm gonna keep these clips short just because I don't want to get destroyed by copyright, but here's like 2 seconds of the SpongeBob theme.
Who lives in a pineapple under the sea?
And if you listen here, Mr. Krabs plays pretty much the same thing. I'm gonna play it again. Here's like 2 seconds of that. Really cool, but let's head over to another episode. Just a little reminder that if you're still awake, you should be sleeping. And if you're still awake, you might as well grab your phone and subscribe to us. Please do it. I'm trying to hit 10K and we're really close. So if you enjoy my videos, I'd really appreciate it. At least I'm not like all those other crappy AI SpongeBob channels. I'm a real person. I'm gonna be doing my face reveal soon. This is my actual voice. Blah, 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 blah. There's no AI. All right, go and make AI do that, but I'll do it on camera soon to prove it. But make sure to subscribe, guys. I love you. And back to the video with some more Easter eggs. Next up, we've got Blood is Thicker Than Grease, which only has 1 Easter egg, but it's really, really cool. Roll that clip, guys, and here's a hint. It has to do with Plankton's family.
There's room for the whole Plankton clan!
Hello.
Like I said, I really like this one. So, back in Plankton's army, Plankton decides that he needs to team up with his family to take down Mr. Krabs. And before he actually meets them and eventually realizes that they're a bunch of rednecks, there's this scene where he imagines what they could look like. We get all sorts of different designs of Plankton's imaginary ancestors. And guess what? In Blood is Thicker Than Grease, during the scene we already showed you guys, look, several of Plankton's family members that he imagined appear in this scene. Plankton has an interesting imagination. But yeah, really cool Easter egg, guys, and let's keep it rolling to another episode. Next up, we've got the episode Chum Bucket List. And in this episode, there's the World of Friendship song. Now, throughout this song, there are a ton of Easter eggs. I'm gonna play a couple clips from the song, and then we'll start breaking down all of them. Try and see if you guys can spot any of the Easter eggs before I actually reveal them. Really cool. So during this shot right here of SpongeBob and Patrick's designs were actually storyboarded to channel the style of the first ever episode of SpongeBob. So they were actually drawn in a way where they look like season 1 versions of them. And we've got another one from this episode that happens after the song or after the montage. Roll the footage. Friendship. Did you guys catch it? So, after the song, this explosion is played. And it might seem familiar, because it's actually a reference to 3 older episodes. This exact same explosion clip was shown in Dying for Pie. It was then also used in The Krusty Plate, Frozen Face Off, and Neptune's Ball. And we still ain't done yet, gang. We've got more Easter eggs. Let's head over to another episode. Our next Easter egg can be found in the episode Boating Buddies. In this episode, instead of a typical SpongeBob boating school episode, is all about Squidward attending boating school after getting a ticket. As you can imagine, this was all SpongeBob's fault, of course. But luckily for him, SpongeBob decides to help out, eventually leading us to this scene where Squidward does his driving exam. For a few frames, the rare incidental character Granny appears, thus making her first appearance since her debut episode, Have You Seen This Snail? Our next Easter egg can be found in the episode Potato Puff, but we need to go back for it to actually make any sense. Mrs. Puff, as always, is stressed out and defeated after yet another failed driving lesson with SpongeBob. So she decides to just give him a license anyways so that she doesn't have to deal with him anymore.
Mrs. Puff,
Thank you, SpongeBob. Congratulations. Have a nice life.
Now, when she gets home, if you look on the wall, there's a portrait of the exact frame on screen. This is known as a recursive image, and it's actually referenced in the opening of the season 13 episode Potato Puff. As look, there's a portrait of the exact frame going on in the episode on Mrs. Puff's wall yet again.